Well, hello. Today we're here with my friend Michael Ostrolenk. How are you doing, Mike?
Hey, Kev. Good to see you, man.
So you always have lots of projects. What's the most exciting thing you're doing right now?
Do definitely have a lot of projects going on. I can tell you a few things in the policy space. I can tell you some things that are happening outside the policy space, but maybe we'll start policy-wise, probably because it's in the news. One of the issues I'm working on is election security, helping build out a transpartisan coalition, bringing liberals, libertarians, progressives, conservatives together, recognizing that although we have a distributed system, 50 states and counties and all that kind of good stuff, there's a lot of vulnerabilities to our election systems, plural, and that the states don't have the money they need to actually update their systems. So I'm working with the coalition to get some federal funds, because it seems like one of the few things the federal government should actually do is help secure federal elections, for one thing, but also elections at the state level. The argument, because I hear back from some like libertarian types, which would include some of my own arguments, like, what about the 10th Amendment? So, well, if North Korea launched missiles on Hawaii, Hawaii would not be responsible for protecting itself against North Korean missiles. If North Korean cyber experts try to find vulnerabilities in Hawaii's um, um, election systems, it should not be the sole responsibility of Hawaii to protect itself. It's the federal government's role. So not only do we want some federal funds to go to the states so they can update their systems, we also want some guidelines so the money is well spent. And funny enough, we're pushing for low-tech solutions, not high-tech. We're actually paper ballots and audit trails. Nothing too high-tech about that. And there also has to be some education of the people on the ground who are actually running these elections. Because unfortunately, a lot of these people who both create the ballots and then transport the ballot to the various polling booths and the machines, and people who run the polling booths, and they're regular people like us, and they don't necessarily have the training and education to help stop any kind of even on the ground intrusions into the systems, let alone someone sitting in their basements in Kiev or Russia or China or Iran or wherever they happen to be, trying to F with our systems as well. So
Which
that's
what what website should we go to find out about sort of like the status in the different states and sort of different approaches to securing the elections? What do you go to for your sort of canonical resource?
Well, a couple different ones, and I'll put out some folks left and right that people can go to depending on what their inclinations might be. But NEDC, National Election Defense Council, is one group that I would recommend folks to go check out their website. Common Cause is another group that does a lot of work in this space as well. The Brennan Center is also doing a lot of work. If you actually go to the Brennan Center, you can see which states have paper ballots, which states still have electronic voting machines, which have no paper ballots, DREs, which is what they're called. You can also go to POGO, Project on Government Oversight. Jake at POGO has done a report that looks at the voter rolls, not the systems themselves, not in terms of the voting machines, but the voter rolls, and how they are susceptible to, they're quite vulnerable to hacking as well. So you can go to the POGO and look at their report there. We work closely with FreedomWorks. They put out some good stuff. We work with ATR, Americans for Tax Reform. You can Google Grover Norquist and see some op-eds he's written on the subject. We're closely with Lieutenant Colonel Tony Schaefer from the London Center. He's also done quite a few op-eds, mostly with Fox News, that you can find as well. If you want to Google Grover Norquist and Michael Chertoff, former Secretary of Homeland Security under Bush, they co-wrote 1 or 2 op-eds, I believe, which you can also find, which kind of lays out some of the concerns that folks have all across the political spectrum. But I would say those are some of the websites people might want to go to learn more about what's going on.
Are there competing bills in the Congress right now?
So the problem is since Congress can't do a budget, and hasn't been able to do a real budget for a long time, they continue to do these CRs. There is money from the House, about $500 million. Senator McConnell has agreed to about $250 million in the Senate. They're supposed to come together in a conference. This is not specific to election security. This is just a broader budget. But most likely that's not going to happen because they're not going to agree to anything, and they're just going to have to do a CR to extend government to the next year, which is a whole other issue that they can't actually do budgets, which is kind of silly and mind bending and drives me. I was about to start cussing. Drives me bananas. Our hope, though, is that you could reconcile the House and the Senate versions, come up with some number between 250 and 500 million dollars, but also has some guidelines on how the money is spent. Because we've spent a lot of money in the past, post Bush v. Gore, billions of dollars are spent. Problem is it's spent on machines, which are now the ones that we're saying don't use because there's no paper trails and they're not as auditable as we'd like.
Right. It seemed like about 12, 15 years ago, they, I guess it was after Bush versus Gore,
yeah.
When they came with all the new machines, and then now they're pulling them back out again. Has the were there demonstrable problems with those electronic machines that has caused this transition, or is it more just a perspective problem with them?
Well, there is a problem with them because you don't know if your vote counts because it's not a paper ballot with the DREs. So that's why we want to switch to paper ballot. So you handwrite who you want, you stick in the machine, and you have proof because you can see it of who you voted for, as opposed to you just hope and pray that who you push on the screen actually is the one who's voted for, and you'll never really know. That's why we want
to. They work. I think we have them here in Virginia where there's electronic tally, but there is an underlying there is a ballot box.
So yes,
and they actually have the ballots inside.
We work closely with a gal named Liz. She's amazing. She's with the Brennan Center, and she was the one who helped decommission. I think that's not the proper term. It's like decommission the previous electronic voting machines in Virginia because they were not safe enough for us to believe that our vote would count. So we've switched to the ones that you're now talking about here in Virginia. Not all states do that. All states should head in that direction. It costs a lot of money. That's why we want some money from the federal government to the states. And it's not just about the electronic voting machines going to less tech versions so you can have paper ballots and audit trails. You also have to protect the voter rolls to make sure that the information in the voter rolls reflects the real person in real life. So when they show up to go vote, they can actually vote, that kind of stuff. You also have to make sure the machines, between the time they're stored and transported to the place where you can actually vote, they're secure there. And what's really fascinating is you listen to Lieutenant Colonel Schaefer, because when he worked for the federal government, he was an operative, and he actually would do what we don't want people to do to us. He would do to other countries. He tells some amazing stories. But if you just think about it, if a foreign actor, or even a domestic actor, got access through phishing to the company that produces the ballots, and just mess with the software that generates the ballots when you actually send them out to the various counties or states to the counties, that's all you have to do, and you wouldn't even know what's going on. You assume what you see is what you get, but you wouldn't, because as because you're a software guy, you can manipulate the software. So what I think I see is not what I actually get. So we have to protect the people who create the ballots to make sure that whole process is secure. We have to protect the machines to make sure they are secure. We have to make sure that no machines are on the internet because that makes them that much more vulnerable. So we oppose internet voting, as an example, as a broad left-right coalition. We think that's a mistake. Presently, there's not enough security to make us feel safe and secure that could be a legitimate forum for our systems. Yeah, I would say that that's.
Is there someone pushing? Is there any group of people in the legislature, or are there other groups that don't agree with this position, or is it sort of one-sided in your favor?
Yeah, so interestingly enough, I said that there's two groups of people who oppose us. One would be the people who make the machines that we want to get rid of. There's a whole crony capitalism side of that, which is quite interesting because, they invite secretaries of states to meetings and, nice meals and educate them on the value of their machines. There's a lot of cronyism, as there is anywhere in government. So the people who produce the machines we want to get rid of are on the wrong side from our perspective of this issue. And understandably so. They want to sell their machines, right? And then a lot of Secretary of States are on the wrong side. And I would say not because they're bad people, but if you could imagine if you're a Secretary of State and someone says to you, is your whole system safe and secure? What are you going to say? No, it's really vulnerable and everyone can hack it. Here's the 500 different ways that it can be hacked. And I know that I have no money to even update these, security measures and blah, 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 blah. So I'm really screwed. So I can understand to a certain degree why Secretaries of State should be hesitant to admit publicly why their whole systems within the state or the county levels are vulnerable, as we've just been talking about. Especially if they have no money to fix the problem, because then they're screwed.
And this is where your bill to provide some funding. Will the bill that did you say was 250 million?
Well, so it's not a bill. There was a bill in the House that Langevin, who's a Democrat, and Mark Meadows put together. It's called the Paper Act. So we did have a bill in the House, and we did have a bill in the Senate from Senator Langford, and Senator Klobuchar, Democrat, Republican, called the Secure Act. So there were bills that did what we want them to do, but for political reasons, they didn't go anywhere. What we were able to do is in the House, because the Democrats control, they put $500 million in, and because of certain pressures, we believe McConnell allowed $250 million in. Well, like I said, the budgets aren't going to be voted on. They're just probably going to do a CR. So the bills we like won't be passed. And depending on what happens with the CR, we'll probably not get the money inside of the budget because it wasn't for last year, it'd be for next year. And the CR doesn't look, looks backwards, it doesn't look forward in terms of the.
You mentioned the issue of continuing resolution a few minutes ago, and what, in your general sort of observations of what goes on the Hill, what's the sense of the community there? What do